I don't know about y'all, but to me, it is so easy to come across somebody that you find attractive, that it is easy to build feelings for somebody. But one of the largest lost arts when it comes to dating is to be considered. To be considered by somebody is to be heard, is to be seen, it is to be felt on the deepest level possible. That somebody will make sure that when they are around you, that you are included, that you are loved properly, that they will do for you not because they have to, but because you matter to them in the best type of way. To be considered will give you so much longevity in relationships, not only just dating, but also in your friendships. When somebody knows you well enough to do things for you because they know how good it will make you feel, because it also makes them feel good knowing that you feel good. So if you're looking to build relationships in your life, no matter if they're dating, your friendships, family, be with the person and deal with the people who consider you, because those people truly care about you for not what you just do for them, but for who you truly are.
As I continue to acquire education, knowledge in the field of science, technology, engineering, and math, when I interact with somebody who has a predefined perception of me as a black man, whether it's because of my stature, I'm 6'4", I work out, I lift weights. It's my only version of distressing that I know, but people just automatically assume entertainer, rapper, right? Something related to the physical, the masculine as it relates to the physical. And sometimes it can be frustrating because then when you operate outside of that paradigm, it forces somebody to readjust their thinking of the world, their worldview, which can be frustrating, which can be challenging if we're being completely honest. And that produces a level of cognitive dissonance, which ultimately can facilitate either resentment or some kind of like contempt. And I've noticed this living within New England, being the minority. Obviously, when I went to college, I had a bunch of people looking at me saying, hey, like, you do really well with your hands, you know, and this was just a translation to, you know, you probably don't have the ability to learn things and utilize this, and this is always going to last more than this. This breaks down, this gets arthritis. So I started realizing it was people trying to box me and put me into a category which they understood of me. And that's why as a black man, you have to acquire as much knowledge, as much skill, be as competent as possible, not to compete with your counterparts necessarily, but to define who you are within the world, because the world already has a fixed vision / narrative of you. Let me know your take on this and what you guys think. Holler back at your boy.
Breaking news! Everybody in the government is doing illegal shit.
That's right, Rebecca, and nobody will be held accountable for any of it.
More at 7.
The Epstein thing, the cabal we slowly are confirming is pretty much running the country, is not a left versus right issue if you're a straight white person. If you're the straight white person the alt-right pipeline was designed for, none of the propaganda was at your expense. None of it. If you're not a straight white person in this country, you watched the right amass a ridiculous amount of power over the last 10 years with discourse that was solely at your expense. Let me explain. Steve Bannon was in the files interviewing Jeffrey Epstein. They were boys. Like, they were tight. Why is that relevant? When Steve Bannon bought all of our data from Mark Zuckerberg to found Cambridge Analytica, it was the political think tank that was the money and research behind all of the propaganda Trump used to get elected in 2016 and beyond. In my opinion, that was the start of the modern alt-right pipeline. Long story short, they threw any non-straight or non-white group they could under the bus to get that man elected. He was able to run on releasing the Epstein files that he knew would implicate him and had no real intentions of releasing by distracting a good portion of Americans with the fucking boogeyman of the day. And whether it was black people, Latino people, gay people, trans people, immigrants in general, we all got to have our turn being the boogeyman of the day, being the shiny object they used to distract you from the real issues at hand. Y'all don't get to skip that now that y'all realize it was all bullshit. Now, do I recognize that electoral politics at the highest level is truly just two wings of the same capitalist bird? Absolutely. Would I love an America that was more socialist than capitalist, if not all the way socialist? 200%. But that's a different conversation than the one we're having that ignores the last 10 years of targeting at the hands of the forces that put someone who at one point was one of Epstein's closest friends in office. Y'all are trying to slavery was 200 years ago, how all of that alt-right propaganda showed up in real life. It affected and is still affecting real people every single day. Going to people living with trauma and acting like that perspective isn't valid or none of that happened is the kind of privilege that allowed American white supremacy to reinvent itself after slavery. The Germans saw that in the early 1900s and literally based Nazi Germany on the American fascism seen in the post-slavery Jim Crow South. America is going to defeat fascism, but it's not going to happen with just white Americans. Just white Americans is how we got to this point. And this perspective that none of this is left versus right is the same exclusion of the experiences of people of color that got us to this point. And if that doesn't change, none of this does. It just comes back with a different name in the way we've seen it happen for all of American history at this point. A real solution to American fascism cannot exclude the perspectives of non-white Americans, because the experiences of non-white Americans is always where that fascism starts. And it will start again if this continues. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
Fuck that bond and them weak ass memories, you heard? Cut off anybody and everybody that play with you. You heard? Like anybody that feel like they could get one up on you, cut them niggas off. It was never that serious, you heard? Get them up out of here. 1, 2, 3. Poof.
On some real shit, if you have a pastor that's a grown ass man, hang it up. Your woman need to go fuck the pastor. Why the fuck are you depending on another man to think for you, you weak ass nigga? Don't no man over the age of, I say 25, need to have no pastor. You need to be seeking to become your own mental faculty, bro. Ain't no time to have no fucking pastor. Do you know how many fraud ass pastors that it has been in the past decade, nigga? So for you to have a pastor, that means that means that you appreciate or that you value another man's thought process over your own. You can go learn the same shit that the pastor is spitting at you and make your own assessment of it. A woman will respect that more than she gonna respect you saying, oh, I go to church. My pastor is the best. My pastor's having a turkey drive. Shut your bitch ass up. You ain't no fucking man. Think for your damn self, you fucking coward.
If people can't unite in this country over children being abused, then there is no hope for humanity in this country.
Shit in this country is really getting to the point to where I don't even understand why the fuck people care what the fuck Kristi Noem or anybody else that's a part of this clown ass regime has to say anytime shit go awry in this country, knowing all they're gonna do is bullshit, lie, and waste the time of the American people. In the media, y'all are fucking pointless, bro. I don't even know what the fuck y'all job is anymore. What do y'all even go to these press conferences for? Y'all think these motherfuckers just gonna apologize for shit going as planned? You think they gonna do everything in their power to hold people accountable? Y'all don't even ask any real fucking questions. And then in the rare occasions that y'all ask a question that challenges their rhetoric, y'all let them bump their gums, buck up at you, and gaslight you to the point that y'all just sitting in the corner cowering like a little bitch. Don't even fucking say anything. Y'all don't even stand up for yourselves. So I know y'all not gonna ask no questions that's gonna stand up for the American people. Just a waste of fucking breath. All y'all do is go to these press conferences, take pictures, take videos, add a fucking clickbait title to it, and hit upload. A 2-year-old could do that shit. It's fucking pointless. I don't give a fuck what these people have to say because I know anything that come out their mouth has nothing to do with the truth.
Thing I wish the black men specifically talked more about is how we seek comfort in cages. And I know I'm going to lose a lot of you to this video, but I want you to stick around and understand and listen to what I'm going to tell you. See, as black men, we've learned to survive by controlling what we can, right? So hustle culture, daydreams, gym obsession, ghosting, being your meat, right? These things give us the illusion of control, right? They don't ask us questions. They don't ask us to be vulnerable. They don't disappoint us, right? But they don't give back what they take either. We call them outlets, but over time, what do they become? They become our identities. They become our personalities, right? Not joy, not healing, but habits dressed up as a personality. This is what happens when coping feels like control. Because let's keep it real. A lot of black boys are born into silence. Our fathers didn't speak their hearts. Our uncles showed love through distance or critique. Our communities taught us how to survive and not feel, so we adapted to those circumstances, right? Some of us filled that silence with books, some of us with sex, others with weed, some even with anime, capitalism, religion, or aesthetics. Doesn't matter what it was. We didn't pick it for joy. We picked those things for shelter. And we confused the shelter for self, right? So this is what happens when we inherit silence and then customize it. Here's the crazy twist. Just because something feels good doesn't mean it's good for you. But we're masters at justifying that, right? I need this to unwind. It inspires me. This is how I love, right? That's not how we're supposed to work, man. A lot of what we call agency is really just avoidance in disguise. And nobody tells us that because we look like we've got it all together. This is what happens when pleasure isn't peace. Because let me ask you this, black man. Have you ever been alone for so long that your coping started to feel like a connection? ChatGPT feels better than a real conversation. YouTube feels safer than your friends and family. Silence starts to feel like safety. But what it all really is starvation, right? You think you're healing in isolation, but really you're just rehearsing your pain on loop. This is what happens when isolation tricks you into thinking that you're okay. And the wild part about all this is the world rewards our numbness to a degree, right? You stay quiet, they call you stoic. You isolate yourself, oh, he's low key. You intellectualize your pain, oh, he's deep. But deep down, you're just comfortably numb, right? You think, this is just who I am. I like being alone. But the real question that a lot of black men fail to ask ourselves is, what would you be if you weren't trying to protect yourself every second? See, the cost of silence is everything. The consequences of living a lifestyle that revolves around numbness is they don't show up all at once. They creep in. So first, you stop trusting real love. Second, you can't finish what you start. Third, you choose people who feel safe because they never challenge you, right? And before you know it, your comfort zone is a prison cell. And the scariest part about all of it is you can't even tell when it happened. It's like emotional carbon monoxide. It's quiet, it's invisible, but it's deadly. But here's the hard truth that I personally had to admit to myself recently. A part of me got used to that pain, right? It became a structure for me. Nobody stayed, but that fantasy did. Nobody understood me, but them crash outs, the music, the weed, the silence, all that stuff understood me. So I held on to those things, right? Because at least it felt like something to me. But here's the real escape. It's not about leveling up. It's not about growing up. It's not about even being better. It's about being honest with ourselves. I'm talking about spiritually honest, emotionally honest, radically honest. When I mean honest, I mean saying things to ourselves like, this version of me is just pain that adapted. This pleasure is just trauma that wants to be held. This peace I claim is just avoidance with a nice name, right? And when you say those things, when you get that real with yourself, that's when the question becomes clear. Do I keep protecting my pain, or do I start protecting my healing?
Emotional man is the most loved and feared man that ever exists. He's loved because he carries what others refuse to touch. And he's feared because he can feel when something is wrong before it has language. It's like the world likes to lean on his chest and then punish him when he breathes too deeply. That's what's going on. Because they call him strong when he absorbs pain and then weak when he lets it register. Right? That's what happens. They call him safe when he stays quiet and then dangerous the moment he's honest. So the world likes to teach him a good bag of tricks. One, how to survive without existing. And then how to disappear while remaining useful. And then how to feel without needing to be met. And then how to turn pain into composure and that composure into currency. They also tell him that his emotions require self-control, right? They tell him emotions require discipline, restraint, mastery, but they never tell him the rest. They never tell him that controlling his emotions will require him giving up the belief that he could self-betray his way into freedom. I'm just trying to help you. They never tell him that no amount of restraint would ever turn his abandonment into safety, that no amount of self-erasure would ever make the world reciprocal. It wouldn't happen. But he keeps trying, though. He keeps trying. He keeps sanding himself down, keeps translating pain into usefulness. He keeps believing that if he becomes clean enough, quiet enough, strong enough, reality will finally open its hands. That's what he hopes for until that one moment hits. Right? And every man fears this moment. I just want you to understand. It's small, unremarkable, and it's silent. But your body learns the truth all at once. It's like the sun went out behind your ribs. I want you to understand. And it hits so quickly. The man starts to feel, oh, there was never going to be a place for me. Ever. Right. Not me as a failure, right? Me as I am, there wasn't going to be a place for me. And this is the moment that they always told him, right? They always told him that he would make it through it. But it's never survivable because everything before then trained them to believe that if this feeling arrives, you did something wrong, right? If the feeling arrives, you did something wrong. And if this feeling stays, you must harden. And that if this feeling is true, you must disappear. So the world ends up turning you into a liar. It does. Not because you wanted to deceive, but because telling the truth meant carrying it alone. Right. You already know what I'm talking about. You learned how to say I'm fine while your chest went hollow. You learned how to say I get it when no one was coming back for you. You learned how to call endurance peace and numbness maturity. So you did not lie with words at first. I'm not saying that. You did lie with your posture, with your tone, with the way you made pain invisible so others could keep believing the story. That's what you did. And now you're here in this cold moment no one ever named for you. No one ever brought up, where your body refuses to fake warmth anymore, right? I just want you to understand. You think this is where you lose yourself. It's not, right? It's not. This is the last thing in the room that finally appears. Right? Last thing, that your tears were the final truth that this world did not earn. It never earned it because your tears, right, are not weakness, not regression. They are not asking to be saved, right? All right, that's not what's going on. You're not asking to be saved, but they are proof that something in you refused to become a role. That's what it is. So be it, right? Let the world misunderstand you. It's okay. Let it collapse without your constant translation. Let it learn what it feels like to lose its last honest witness. It's okay to let that happen because you are allowed. I just want you to understand. You are allowed to stop believing that betraying yourself is the price of freedom. You're allowed to stop believing that. You're allowed to stop offering your humanity as architecture. You're allowed to stay soft and selective. Right? Hear what I'm saying. Soft and selective. Right, present and unreachable to what cannot love you back. I just want you to understand what's going on. So, if it still hasn't made sense for you, I'm just gonna make it make sense for you, right? If you can hear what's going on back here, your humanity was never the problem, right? The lie that you were living was. I'm just keeping it real with you, right? Not as not as a function, not as a sacrifice, not as a performance. You get to be human here without the lie. Just without the lie. You get to be here as a man who finally heard what they were never allowed to know. That truth does not require your disappearance to survive.